I just want to say first and foremost, I don't know who bribed who for the stars to align for this many amazing people to be in the room at the same time. Like, I know everyone is double, triple booked. And so I am just very, very thankful to be here sitting across from you and being in conversation with you all for the next hour and a half, hour or so. And thank you to everyone for coming tonight. I want to start with, how are you all doing? I know, big question, but what is bringing you joy right now? What are you listening to, watching, seeing that is inspiring you? I can start while you think, because I know these questions. What is inspiring me right now is I got the chance to read and watch these 3 brilliant playwrights works over the past week as I was in rehearsal for my very own play. And I think if you had told 18-year-old me that this was something that was possible and this was something that was happening, she would not have believed you. And so that I am just so thankful to have been able to have these wonderful characters that you've all created in my head throughout the whole rehearsal process, because it's been really inspiring and it's been great because I've gotten to steal things as I've been in rehearsal and giving notes to people. So thank you. Yeah.
I think something that's giving me joy is kind of tangential is I'm in a unique place right now where I'm working with a lot of different people every day. I spend, right now, we just finished our tech for JESA, but I'm also in rehearsals for the Ballisters. So I'm spending 11 to 5 with this incredible group of actors and our director, Kenny Leon. And, the actors are incredible. And it's just amazing to be in the room with them. And it's joyful, but it's also rigorous. And I'm being challenged, artistically. And then I get to leave there and then go to tech with my amazing cast and crew that's part of that we're creating JESA together. And my director, Manteo, is we went to grad school together. We were making stuff in a basement, 15 years ago. And I have this beautiful cast that I get to watch who are bringing to life these people that have been in my head for years. And so that's been really a joyful experience to just to have every day. And I feel very blessed that this is my life right now. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, Aya. Okay, I get it. Number one, obviously this. I really, really, really was looking forward to this for the past couple of days. I really just feel so happy to be sitting with people I've just seen in so many other contexts. And it's so nice to be together in this context.
We're making it out of the basements.
We made it out of the basement. Well, I'm still kind of in the basement. Emotionally, I'm in the basement. I guess I've been watching a lot of Alyssa Liu's figure skating stuff. It's tickled me for sure. Brought me a lot of joy. I'm always the non-serious answer, but this is so serious. Does anybody like anime? Does anybody? Okay, thank you. Okay, I just started watching Chainsaw Man. Hey, nobody told me it was that good. Pretty good, I have to say.
I'm also just kind of at the edge, hanging on to a cliff with my fingernails. But just this last week, I had the opportunity to be directing a new play by an emerging. Oh, she's in the audience too. She just ducked so that I wouldn't see her.
Oh, wow. Can she stand up?
I'm going to publicly humiliate her.
Stand up.
Her name is Hillary Gao. Stand up.
Stand up, Hillary! Woo!
She said she was going to be here, but I didn't believe her. Sorry. But it was, I was really, really tired and sick from the world and being in tech and all that stuff. And I didn't quite know how I was going to make it through the week, but being able to work on her play with the cast that we had it was all Asian femme room, and it felt so joyful and creative and delightful in so many ways. It was just like a real pleasure to be able to like play around for a week. That gives me joy.
Oh, that's amazing. This is bringing me so much joy to hear this. I know we're all hanging on the cliff, but it's really nice to have each other. And I think it's very like a magical moment that this is happening, and that not only us here on this little stage, but there are so many wonderful Asian American playwrights that are getting producing their own work. And it's getting to the point where we were talking, we have to play Jenga with our schedules to try to catch everyone's plays. And isn't that amazing? It's like we get to choose and we get to do so many great things. For anyone who does not have the internet and has not Googled your plays yet, could you please give me a little taste of what each of your plays are about? I know.
Well, the title I feel like should tell you. It's called Chinese Republicans. It's about a group of 4 Chinese Republican women who work at a hedge fund in New York City, and they all meet monthly in their affinity group. There's not much affinity in this affinity group, though, and it culminates in them essentially fighting with each other and tearing each other apart to get to the top spot, right? And centers on this relationship between this mentor and this mentee that starts off very nice and genuine and fun and all the things that make us feel good about affinity groups, but slowly devolves into something far more fraught and sinister. So I've been told it starts as a comedy and ends as a tragedy. So have fun. Have a lot of fun.
That's a good arc.
My play is called Meat Suit, or The Shit Show of Motherhood, and it is essentially exactly what it sounds like. I started writing this play before the pandemic in 2019, when I was just crawling out of early motherhood myself, and there was a lot of grief in motherhood for me. Just a lot of struggling with a loss of identity, of a loss of self, forced transformations of the self and relationships to everybody in my life. And also, about a year and a half into being a mother, I lost my mother. So there was a lot of me as I was going through motherhood that I was like, God, I wish I could talk to my mom about this. She's not here. So really, the play for me was an attempt to kind of build community of through motherhood laterally, and creating space for mother actors to bring their whole selves into the room, and for them to model a kind of compassion and holding for all the mothers and grandmothers in the audience. That was the intention of the play. As an experience, I think it is kind of like body horror comedy and tragedy at the same time. The play is paired with a very like a stylized performance form called bouffant, which is like a sort of mask, except the whole body is a mask. And it tracks the kind of the deformations of the body of motherhood, kind of emblematic of the psychic and emotional labor that mothers have to carry with them, and how they move around the body or move from person to person. And it has some songs. So it's kind of like a crazy circus of motherhood.
My play JESA is about four Korean American sisters in Orange County, California, and they gather to perform the Korean ceremony called JESA, which is a ceremony honoring your ancestors and honoring the dead. And they're meeting because they're doing it for both their parents who have now been gone. And they are estranged. They have grown up. Even though they grew up in the same house together, they have grown up to be very different people. And it's just follows them on this night in which they're doing JESA. And maybe there's a ghost, maybe there isn't. You'll have to come and see. But really, it's a sort of about siblings and how you stay family. You know, as you grow into adulthood and life gets more complicated, and also sort of how do our parents haunt us in different ways. You know, maybe not literally, but, you know, just psychologically, emotionally, how do they kind of imprint themselves into our lives, and what are the things that we should keep and what are the things that we can let go of? So, yeah.
Thank you. If you have time, please check out all these plays. I know they're looking at me to tell about my play really quickly. My play is called Extraordinary Aliens, and it's an auto-fictional play that's based on mine and my partner's journey through the immigration system. It follows a character who comes to America from Romania to be an actor, and finds out that this country is not very kind to immigrants at all, especially this industry, especially when you're on an O1 visa. And if anyone here is on an O1 visa, an OPT, do not let them take your humanity away from you. And so it follows this couple. It follows three different couples in various stages and levels of the immigration system, including an alien who comes from outer space, who is trying to understand what makes Earth so amazing. It's a rom-com, and we have like 5 performances left. Yeah, cool. I am so very curious because this is something that's never like mentioned in bios. But I would love to know, like, what were your, what was the journey that got you into theater, into being a creative? Who were some of the people that have inspired you and opened the doors for you along the way? And also, I would love for this to be like a round circle conversation. So I know we all have mics, but feel free to like jump in and just add to the story. So if anyone would like to start, I want to know, like, what is the origin story of Alex, Aya, Jeena?
The order that we have to go. I know what you did. It's funny. I didn't think I was gonna. I really didn't think I was gonna do the arts. I thought I was gonna very much like go do science or like engineering or something.
Like a good Asian.
Yeah, I want to be good. In spite of my dad being white, somehow my white dad acted more Asian than my mom. Sometimes it was very frightening. Anybody ever see that? It's a curious situation. But all jokes aside, I mean, I always liked the arts. I mean, like a good Asian, they made me go play piano and like go do ballet and stuff like that. So it was in a lot of musicals in high school. But then when I went to undergrad, I was like, no, let's do something serious, or like real job, stable job. And then promptly that changed, like when I did like a Shakespeare show at NYU, and I was like, I think I'm going to change my major, and I'm not going to tell my parents. Not good Asian. And I kind of went back and forth about it for a while. I actually worked in the tech industry for like 6 years. But then during the pandemic, all of a sudden I had like a lot of free time and I started writing. And I think I got very, very lucky that that's when I started writing. And I would have to say that like Che Yu did a lot for me in that period of time.
Who is Che?
Che Yu is a diva. He is the legend. Like he is like the Asian American theater, one of the capital T Asian American theater directors, artists, writers, like one of the very formative people in like recent Asian American theater history, and also just like from my career. Seriously, I mean, like I think I'd worked with him once as an actor, and he was always very generous. And then when I had started writing, he like reached out to me over Facebook Messenger. There's a generational difference. Can you tell? And then he emailed me from his AOL.com Gmail. Wow. Generational difference was like, hey, like send me your plays. I want to know what you're writing. And I did. And he said some very, very nice things to me. And then really, really kept believing in my work, and is directing this show at Roundabout now. So
did you go to Juilliard for acting?
No.
Oh,
I went for writing. I went for writing, yeah. And I was doing that because it's kind of part-time when you're doing the playwriting program. It's really like one class a week. I was doing that while working my tech job. So like I stole time on my calendar. Like I would block it off on Google or like on Slack. I would be like, I'm away. This focus time. Just like lying about what I was doing. But it paid, like, lie more.
Block it off on Slack.
Yeah. But I'll just say, like, I would have to, if I had to pick one person, I would say Che was, like, the most formative. And, like, this is, like, a very meaningful step or, like, full circle. I don't want to say full circle because I'm sure we'll work together again, but it's a meaningful moment in our artistic relationship with each other, for sure, this show. 1,000%.
Yeah. Okay.
You can deviate from it, I promise.
I think I was probably around 13 years old when I started acting in high school. This was in Central California, and I just loved it so much. I mean, and there was just nothing else like it. My parents were very concerned, but went behind my back to beg the drama teacher to stop casting me, which I learned many, many years later on. But, you know, I would have, you know, kind of very heated arguments with my mother because she really didn't want me to go into the theater. And her reasoning behind it was that, you know, you're going to be playing maids and prostitutes for the rest of your life.
Same. My mom said the same thing.
And I said to her, like, no, I'm not. I'm going to make my own theater. You know, which at the age of 17, like, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But I was very determined. I came to New York to go to college. And then as soon as I graduated from college, I started auditioning, and I think I lasted 2 weeks because the roles that were available to me were literally called Sexy Dragon Lady and Nepalese Woman Number 2 and things like that. And, you know, I was like, if I'm going to be poor, if I'm going to be a poor artist anyway, I would rather do that on my own terms, making work that is important to me, rather than, you know, play these roles that like clearly nobody cares about. And so that's basically how I came to. And then I joined a theater company where I was writing and directing and devising and designing and writing press releases and learning how to produce. That was kind of my grad school self-education in a way. And then, yeah, when I left that company in 2003, that's when I really started focusing on, you know, primarily my own like self-generated devised work, which I would direct also. And so for me, it was all out of necessity, right? Like if there had been plenty of roles for me to audition for and tons of acting opportunities, I probably would have just been an actor. I was very happy to be an actor. But I felt like I had no choice but to create plays and to direct those plays and to produce those plays. And So that's how I've kind of carved out my career.
I was similar to you, Alex, where I didn't think that I would be in the arts because I never really, it hadn't entered my mind that it was an option. Even though I loved movies, my dad took us to the movies every week, and I spent all my weekends at the library. I was just always just consuming books and watching TV and going to the movies, and but I hadn't seen live theater until I was in high school when Kelly Clapp, that's her name, she's asked if I wanted to take her brother's ticket because her dad had season tickets to the Amundsen in Los Angeles. I grew up in LA. And so I said, sure, okay, I'll go, because her brother was, too cool. And so didn't want to go. And so I saw I think it was, it might have been Les Mis, actually. I might have been in middle school, actually, but that might have been the first time I actually saw live theater. And that was when I was like, I just didn't realize it existed. And so just so you know, there's a swaths of people in America who've never seen live theater. And I was one of them. And I never would have unless Kelly Clapp decided to ask me to take her brother's ticket. And I remember after that, I said, if your brother ever doesn't want to go again, can I go with you? And they did. So I got to see Leah Salonga in Flower Drum Song before it came to Broadway. And I remember that was really transformative for me too, because then it was like, these aren't white people. These are Asians, and they're all Asian, and they're singing and they're dancing. And I was just, so that was something so that's when it first entered, but it still didn't seem like a career option to me. I went to UC Berkeley. I was like convinced, I was basically one of your characters in Chinese Republicans. I was like, I'm going to work at a hedge fund, And so I went to UC Berkeley thinking I'm going to go to Haas, this is what's going to happen. I took the first business class that you're supposed to take, intro to, business. And I looked around and I thought, if I have to spend the next 4 years with these people, no. And so I pivoted, and then I became a landscape architecture major. Oh, wow. So I did that all 4 years. But then the thing that actually got me to really take the leap after I graduated college was there was a club on campus called Theater Rice. I know it's not a great name. They thought of the name in the 90s. It was fine then. And then by the time, anyway. Okay. So it was an Asian American theater club. And the motto was Asians on stage by any means necessary. And we wrote sketch comedy. We did improv. We would, sometimes bring in a scene or something, and we would rehearse. We made up like 30 clubs so that we can reserve a classroom twice a week, every week, all semester. And then we reserved one of the bigger lecture auditoriums to put on shows every semester. And we did that. And I went to Berkeley. There's a lot of Asians. So we always had sold out shows, and it was really fun. And it was for our community. And that was the first time I was really performing. And that's where I realized I was like, actually, I really do want to do this. And so when I graduated college, I'm from LA. So I was like, well, that's where they all are, So I told my parents, I'm not going to be a landscape architect. I'm going to go move back in with you and try to be an actor. And shockingly, my dad responded in a way that I still to this day, I'm like, you really got to talk to your parents. Because he looked at me, he was quiet, and he was like, well, if you've been wanting to act, why didn't you go to college for acting? Oh my God. And I looked at him, I was like, well, I thought, and he's like, you just kind of wasted 4 years doing this other thing. Why don't you just tell us? And then you could have done that. And I was like, and I was like, society? I don't know, And so I they were still concerned because they were like, I don't know what you're going to, they thought maybe, I think they thought maybe I'd give it up. And I struggled, and I didn't book anything really in LA. I spent like 4 years. Like, again, it was like, I started a few years later. So there was some progress since you joined when you started acting, and then to when I started, but it was still not great. I did like the importance of being earnest in like a weird strip mall in North Hollywood. But the thing is that the thing that I knew after a couple of years that I knew that I wanted to do this was because despite the fact that I was doing theater in a strip mall in North Hollywood, I was really happy. And I was like, and I was not successful and I still wanted to do it. And actually that was the thing for me that was like, oh, you really love this. Like you will drive 2.5 hours to La Cañada Flintridge to do some crappy show because the part was good. Like, you know, so I was like, oh, you really do love this. So then I applied to grad school, got in Columbia, and that's where I think I had 2 professors there that I think were really inspiring for me. It was Kristen Linklater, who's a voice teacher, rest in peace, and Ulla Volz. And they both were these incredible women who, one, they saw me. That was the biggest thing, I think, is that because all that time in LA, you know, you just, especially as your life as an actor, it's like you're just trying to get seen. And nobody saw me. And like nobody gave a shit. And so, but the 2 of them, they saw me. And Ulla, I could still hear her voice. Like I would pick like smaller roles to work on in class. And she would be like, why? Jeena, no, you are powerhouse, you know? So she would tell me like, no, you need to be doing this. And she'd be like, Clytemnestra, and like, you know, things like that. And so she was the one who was like, she saw me and I was like, it opened a world for me. And then that, you know, led to my career as an actor. And I did a lot of new plays. I've done so many workshops of new plays. And I think that was my schooling to make me then take that transitional leap into playwriting.
Wow, I love the journeys. I love, like, my mom also said the same thing to me when I was like, I want to be an actor. And it only took my dads, man, sometimes like you're like, are you listening? Are you even here? And then it turns out they've been here the whole time. It was like, oh yeah, I read that in your star chart is that you're supposed to do theater or do the arts. And he literally pulled out my star chart and like convinced my mom, like, this is the path she must go on to do this, this, and this, and this.
That's amazing.
And I mean, now, like almost 10, 12 years later, when I've like, I don't want to be an actor anymore, I could not drive myself 2.5 hours to anything. I was just like, I don't want to be here. And that was when I started writing. But I have these moments where I call my dad. I'm like, are you sure that star chart is right? Because I am struggling here. And he's like, don't worry, it's you're where you need to be. Just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, cool, Dad. I think your star chart. So it's you know, these parents. I would love to, time is never our friend. Like, I know that clock is an hour behind, right? Because it's 7, not 6, right? I know we started talking about like the kernels that like brought you to like this play that you have right now, but what were some of the things, what were some of the characters, what were some of the things that were pissing you off that, or questions that you had as you were writing these plays? Because they're all, like Lauren is right, like it's not a monolith. You're talking about these brilliant like characters, 3-dimensional Asian American, also like things that I think the previous generation of Asian American playwrights did not even think about, didn't even think were possible. And so like, what were some of these kernels that came up for you? I know like Ayo, you were talking about like the shit show that is motherhood, but it's also like such a beautiful love letter to caretakers, to everyone. I think I know like you were talking about how you were going through that feeling of like the death of yourself and all these things. And as I was in the audience experiencing your play, I just felt like this beautiful, beautiful warm hug, but also like the same rage that I felt like as I was holding my child, and also wishing like I loved her so much, but I couldn't wait to get away from her. And then being so angry at myself for wanting to be away from her and to do art. Yeah. So what are some of these?
Yeah. I what's funny is that once I started writing Meat Suit, which was also it also involved an interviewing process. I went and interviewed about 20 or 30 moms and grandmas who both, within my community and outside, just to make sure it was kind of like a pulse check, to make sure that I wasn't writing in a vacuum, that these are the experiences that were resonating for people, but also not really directly writing about any one person's story, but taking a kernel from an interview. For example, one of the questions I would ask these moms were, what is one thing that really surprised you about becoming a mom that you didn't expect? And a woman that I interviewed in Boston said, what surprises me is the number and the kind of people I now have to associate with because my child is in school, and now I'm part of this community that I would never have chosen to be a part of. And that became the seed for a scene in my play, which is the PTA scene, where it's like a PTA meeting from hell.
It's done so brilliantly.
Yeah. But so just to kind of, my play is not like realistic. It's very, very much heightened, but it is based on some kernels of truth that I've gathered over the years. And I also felt like I had to get this play up and out before I forgot what those days were like, because I'm actually very close to forgetting.
The body works very, very well.
It's a survival mechanism.
I've forgotten everything.
Yeah, and you will not remember anything for the next 5 years. I guarantee.
No.
You too.
I barely remember being here.
But yeah, so I just felt like there was a clock on me to be able to like finish the show and put it up before I just moved on to the next thing. So it feels good to have sent it out into the world.
There's this beautiful moment that I don't want to ruin, but it's so beautiful when there's the mom and the child, and you do like how the baby's close and then like gets further and further away.
Oh my God, I was a mess.
I was a mess because I was like, I had thrown the baby off the teat so I can make it to the show, and then had that moment of like, oh my God, that's gonna be, and it was just so beautiful the way that it looks so simple, but the beauty of time passing. And I hope that if you haven't gotten to see it, you get to see it, because it's such a gift. It's such a gift, and then it made me want to call my mom.
Or tell people to remount it.
Or extend it. And yeah, how about you both over here, these kernels?
Okay. I think the kernel that I think that inspired my play was I was having a difficult period with one of my siblings, and I just remember thinking, like, how is it that we grew up in the same fucking house and you like treat me this way, and then also have like revisionist history, like that was like my sort of reaction a little bit. And then from there I was kind of like, there's something there, because then it's, you get perspective and you work things out and stuff like that. But that was sort of the kernel, I think, for me. But also the other big thing for me was I was in a show, and there was another actor in the show, and they're much more veteran actor, Asian American man, and it's important, but they're wonderful, and love this person, and they were just talking about memories. And they were naming all these shows and all these other male Asian American actors that they did these shows with. and there was a couple different shows that he was talking about. It's like, oh, when we did this, and oh, I remember so and so was there, and and we all were doing this, and we stayed. And he was just going down memory lane, and I was listening, and then I thought to myself, oh my God, I've been at this for 10 years, and I only have one show where I have another Asian femme, where we have this kind of, and it's just me and her. It wasn't me, her, and her, and her, and her. It was just me and her. And then I was literally in a show, it was me and one other Asian femme, and we had no scenes together. And I just was thinking, like, I don't have, and it's not like, and I've been very fortunate. I've worked. It's not where I'm like, I've been sitting at home, hoping. It's like, no, I've done a lot, like, and I've done workshops. I've done a lot of these different things, but I don't have as many memories as I thought that I would working with my colleagues outside of seeing each other in audition rooms, going for the same part. And when we are in a show together, we don't have scenes together because I'm either playing the mother version or the younger version of the mother or the cousin of the main lead guy who is going on his journey, And so and so that was something that kind of, I was sort of like, I'm so happy that those memories exist, for him. But I was like, I would like memories. I would like my colleagues to have memories.
Yeah.
Outside of us, talking about, remember when that thing happened in the audition room? Or did you audition for that thing too? Yeah, I didn't get it either. Like, other than that, I wanted memories of us, of just, I wanted to write a show where some femme Asian actors can make some memories and have a good time. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you.
I think for me, I've said this about the show a million times. It's not a secret. I grew up in a very conservative family. I'm not conservative. Shocking. Shocking. A girl wearing Alice in Chains t-shirts, not conservative. Weird. But I would have a lot of fights with my mom about it. Just fight after fight after fight. I love my mom, like, so much, but it started to get really confusing for me how somebody that I had personally experienced as being very kind and generous and very open-minded in so many ways could fundamentally see the world in a totally different way from me, and also fundamentally believe that the world functions and should function in a different way than I believe. So I wrote the play out of a place of, you know what? I'm just going to show it. What I've heard for 29 years of my life, coming out of my mom's mouth, coming out of my aunt's mouths, because not just my mom, it's like a lot of the women in my family. Just what's been coming out of their mouths, because I think a lot of people were confused by a lot of exit polling. I was not confused. I was kind of like, well, I could tell you right now what people are saying. So let me just show it. And it's funny with the show, I was really kind of adamant. I don't want to put my opinion. My opinion's not the point. For me, I was like, the point is just to show it. But as previews went on and on and on, we were just having this sort of, with like the last scene where it just got really, really ideological, and it was kind of fun in a way, but it didn't totally land the play for me, which is interesting because it would definitely land in readings, but not in production. It's funny how things change.
Why do you think that is?
I think because in readings, you can kind of get away with it just being on the page, and you're not necessarily seeing it actualized, it physicalized in the space and in the room with the context of everything else that's physically happened in that space. So it's just experienced differently. And it finally got to the moment where I was like, I know my opinion. And at the last preview rehearsal, I put it in there in one line, and I was like, that's all I gotta say. That's what I want to say about it. Like, you've all watched this whole show where these women are speaking in this way and saying things that are controversial and things that I don't agree with, and being really bold and crazy and kind of fascinating, but also kind of insane. And I just was like, I'm like hiding a little bit what I really think of it. And I finally was like, but I know what I think, so I'm going to say it. it was interesting in a way how like something that came out of like all the fights that I had with mom where I couldn't shut up with my opinion. That was the problem. I couldn't not fight her on it. I almost had like the opposite issue with the play until I was like forced to just say it, it was kind of magical in a way that it came like full circle, I think.
Yeah, it's like you're sometimes like persuaded against having that like playwright's thought, even though it's your play and you do have a point of view. And there's a reason why people are here watching it, and there's a reason why these characters have been conjured up on stage. But it's also like, I think all three of your plays come from like this deep place of love and wanting to understand the women and the femmes in your lives, in our lives, and like understand like why do we do the things that we do, and why do we fight against our own self-interests, but also like how do we succumb to the pressures of society even without knowing it. And like what a privilege it is to like have the blinders off and to be able to see. But like a lot of the times it's like people are in the weeds, in the trenches, and they can't help by like fighting one another and being at each other's throats, because that's the only way that we've been taught. And it makes me think about like how wonderful it is, like what a privilege for actors now. I mean, there's always more to be done, but like to be able to like meet one another in audition rooms, but also like to get to play these three-dimensional characters. And how I think like it is great that you're all writing this. I'm curious, before we turn it over to the audience, what are some hopes that you have, or some wishes that you have for American theater, for Asians in theater, as the years go by? And I think my last question on top of that is like, what are the ways that you're aching for things to be made easier for yourselves as creatives and producers and people who wear multiple hats? Very big question.
I think my hope, especially with this moment in the theater, is that people can see, because I just to speak out of school, sometimes a lot of the concern is, occasionally with season planning, is like, well, if we have more than one Asian show, like, are people going to come to all the Asian shows? Guys, all of these shows have been selling very well, and people know about it. They're talking about it. iShow sold out. My house is not papered, okay? We are not papering that house. And Lauren's show is selling well. JESA, I had trouble getting a ticket to JESA, just not even open. I just hope that people can see this moment and see the momentum behind all of these shows and realize that there is not just one slot that you can program an Asian show. You should program the show because you like it, because you know it has an audience, and it doesn't have the audience is not just Asian people. So many people have come to see my show, Cuban, Eastern European, whatever, got a lot out of the show, not Asian at all. So I just hope that this moment is showing the industry that, you know, our stuff can really sell. Our stuff can really sell, so invest in it.
I think also my hope is that, and this is specifically for the Asian American theater community, I would like for the wider theater community to recognize that we are also Americans and that we are also part of the fabric of the American theater. We are not like fringe, or like we don't need a precursor, you know, like the Asian show, or like this thing about, you know, it's just, we are also part, like all of our shows are part of the American experience. So I would like for the American theater to reflect more of an expansive view of what it means to be an American. because I think, especially nowadays, it's getting narrower and narrower, and who gets to claim that they're an American. And it's just, I think sometimes that definition is getting really muddied. And that's my hope.
Yeah, yes to both of what you've said. I would also add just a desire for like a less siloed view of what theater is. I feel like I happen to be being produced by Second Stage, which is like an off-Broadway theater, and in that context, my work is considered very experimental, and which, right, I agree. Like I feel like, yes, there are formal choices that are like different from a conventional, like a straight up kitchen sink play, but there's nothing about it that's not immediately accessible. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
and so
yeah,
I just feel like the audiences, the culture that we've built around like what we think theater is, what we think viable theater is just, we're all like in a sinking ship anyway. You know what I mean? Like, who sees theater? The whole industry is crumbling. As sorry, is that new? Is that news to anybody?
Is anyone shocked?
But just like we were talking beforehand, like self-producing, yeah, it fucking sucks. But maybe that is like we have to figure out ways to continue to let the art flourish and not depend on a certain institution to pick you up or etc.
Yeah, because it is like in some ways you're not compromising artistic vision, but you're compromising on the budget line that you don't have. But also it's like, well, if you have to wait for them to pick you up, your play will just sit in your inbox being sent out to many people who'll never read it until the end of time. But it's a bitch. Raising money is not fun, but it is like, I think you have to do it. You have to really take your power and your artistry into your own hands, because if you wait until them, they're not going to do it. They're not going to allow you into the room. You have to create your own rooms like you all individually have. And then by the powers of aligning, this is now this moment that they've suddenly realized that these stories are viable. But it's like, you've been doing it for so long, and so many people have been doing it for decades and decades and decades to get us to this moment. And we're building the foundation so that the next generation of theater makers don't have to hopefully work so hard. Hopefully they can coast, and then we get to be invited to opening night and be like, remember how hard it was. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for these wonderful hopes and wishes. This is not the end, because we have a little bit more time. We're going to impose on your time a little bit more. Someone has a question already. Yes, hello, person in the back.
Hi, thanks. I just want to say that I've seen Chinese Republicans and I've seen Meat Suit. I have a ticket to JESA this weekend. I've seen Alex's Lao Wang. I've seen Nosebleed by Aya. I even went down to D.C. to Woolly Mammoth Theater to see it. And I mean, these are such amazing plays. And, I also appreciate this talk, because actually I didn't even know Meat Suit was out. And I didn't, I'm really thankful for this talk, because I did a deep dive and was like, oh, wow, I didn't know, about JESA, and so I got a ticket. Anyway, I do have a question, and that is, Alex, that line that you said that you included, what was it?
God, I don't want to spoil it. Should I just say it?
Say it.
Money won't make you white.
It's Shan.
It's something I actually said to my mom when I was 17. Guys, I love we have such a good relationship, but I really, the politics girl, we just can't talk about it. Like, I said it to her, and it was actually strangely astute for a 17-year-old. I want to give myself some credit there. And perhaps it's because my experience as a mixed race person, I just knew you are or you aren't. And no amount of money was going to change the way that I saw people treat my mom before she opened her mouth. And they realized that she could speak English. And they realized that she was from here, like literally from here, born here, from New Jersey. And I just said it, and she got so mad at me. And I think she got really, really mad because she knew I was right. And she couldn't actually say anything like logical against it. So she just started cursing at me. And that was like, that's that you saw the play. That's basically what happened with me and my mom when I was 17 at our kitchen table. I said, money won't make you white, Mom. And then she just started yelling.
I'm assuming your mom has seen this show.
Yeah, she loves it. It's so weird. She like doesn't remember.
She's like, remember when?
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't remember. She doesn't remember. My two best friends from high school also came to the show, and so they've seen Jean is her name. They've seen Jean from the origin of Jean.
The origin of Jean.
And apparently, my mom leaned over to one of my very good friends, Tamara, from high school. We've known each other 15 years. She says, Tamara, I just don't. Where does she get these ideas? It's so amazing. Where does she come up with these things? And my friend Tamara had to come up to me. He was like, you would not believe what your mom just said to me.
Like, just accept it. You're brilliant, is what mom is saying.
I just, like,
She's
it just feels like it was like Tuesday for her. And it was like a formative moment.
I love hearing this because I'm so nervous about my parents seeing my play. And then, but I've heard people say that I've heard people say like, I think most people don't have the self-awareness you think they do. And I was like,
That's what happened to David, who your show is you're in. When David did good, because David was my teacher at Juilliard. I love him so much. And he's so lucky to have you. He said when he did Good People with Frances McDormand, that's like really his mom. Like he tells people, I think this is fine to say. But when his mother came to see the show, she apparently said kind of the same thing. David, where do you get these ideas? I just don't even, and like the way he tells it, he's like, oh my God, how does she, he's like, I use this, and this, the location, like, just,
God bless them. I wish I had no self-awareness. I'd get further in life.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a question about the writing process. So can you talk about, do you have a writing ritual? Like, do you go to a coffee shop? Do you listen to music when you write? Or what do you do when you're stuck? And thank you.
I write on the deadly threat of deadlines. Like I've somehow lucked myself into a lot of positions now where I'm getting commissions and things, and I have deadlines, and that's how I do it. Because otherwise, I would not write. Like I would just like think about it in my head for years, and then know that like I have a deadline due March 15th, and be like, okay, I'm gonna start March 14th. So that's not a really good process at all.
I actually writing is just a very small part of my practice. I actually, with most of my plays, I begin in a rehearsal room with collaborators, and I might have a couple of ideas or a theme in mind, but I usually don't start with characters or story or plot or anything like that. And it's really through kind of asking my collaborators some questions that ideas start to come to the top, and then I'll go away and do a scripting process and then go back and forth. So it's an iterative process for me because, frankly, I hate writing and I hate sitting alone in a space with a computer. Like I just can't. I can't get anything done. So the way I figured out how to do it is just to bring people I want to be in community with and have them be in conversation with me or with an idea or with a theme. and go from there. And that way I feel less lonely about the process.
Alex?
My first
Jeena?
play. I don't have a fucking process.
I like that. Like, it's the building the community so that you're not so lonely, because I think we're all here because we're like, we don't like being alone, and we like being in a room with much more brilliant, exciting people who help us find the answers to the questions that we can't solve on our own. And that's what's been like such a gift, is like, I think for me, when I realized during the pandemic that acting was not my calling anymore, I was like, I am so miserable. I was like, but I love the theater. How do I stay in it? How do I keep being around like cool people who are like building things every day and are just fascinating? So yeah.
What do I do? Actually, I think I have become very structured, especially after going to. I do. Actually, no, I should give myself more credit. I set aside the time in the Google Calendar. I like color code pretty much different projects, what I'm doing. I set aside like dedicated hours to it, and I always outline. Whether or not I follow that outline is kind of up to whatever happens in that moment. But I strangely enough, I think maybe that is the one section of my life that I am very,
How like in depth do you outline?
very in
I
depth.
want to know.
Very in depth.
Very like every
I kind
scene.
of I go like scene
Beat-
and then
scene
beat
by
by
scene.
beat by beat, and I'm like then this, then this, then this, and this, and then sometimes they don't want to do that, and I'm like, okay, they don't want to do that, so they'll do something else. But I think it helps me with my brain, and like I just like the anxiety of like I don't really know what's going on. I like shut down if I feel like I don't have a clear direction of where I want it to go, but I also. Now I'm like I keep myself open to maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they want to do something else. But at least if I have like the map, I feel like I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna go either way. At least I have this map though.
Seal that for me. I need to learn a map, because like,
Hey.
I feel like my characters know what they're doing, but I am just in the side table trying to figure it out with
I'm
them.
very true. I like use Hero's Journey. I like use all the Campbell stuff. I stole that from David, and I have an outline. If you want to look at it,
Yes,
I will
please
send
airdrop it to my
the
phone.
structure.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah,
structure
I'll take
outline.
that.
Take it.
Yeah.
I'll ask David Versal.
Hi there. Thank you all for being here. So I am an actor who is crawling very slowly towards like producing my own work and trying to write my own stuff. But it is scary moving from the like, pick me, I'll play the girlfriend thing to like actually taking ownership and knowing how to pitch yourself and speaking concisely about what it is. And it's kind of a vague question, but how did you move from that plug me in, I'll go anywhere mindset as an actor to really like taking ownership over having like an owner's mindset over your work?
I mean, honestly, like, I think I don't have a lot of regrets in my life because I feel like everything happens for a reason. But the one regret I do have is actually not pursuing writing earlier, because it is something I've always loved since I was young. Like I used to do fan fiction and post them on K-pop forums.
Oh my god!
I had a whole thing about back dancers. Anyway, but I think just do it. Like truly, just do it. You're gonna fuck up. Learn from your mistakes and keep going. I think that's the only way. Like I understand what you mean, because you as an actor you want to prepare, right? You need to figure out this and this, and then you need to. And something that I still feel and I'm still doing is remembering that you just got to try. And also, and I think actually I just listened to this podcast episode that Lauren Yi was in, and it's called Here We Are, I think. Francesca Fernandez, also a great actor, interviewed Lauren, and Lauren was saying that the best advice she ever got was a teacher told her, if you want something, ask for it with respect and just see. And like I think that if you move through life and you treat people with respect and kindness and you ask for what you want, I think it'll surprise you how many times people will actually, they want to help you. I was so scared for so long to share that I even wrote. There are so many things in my hard drive that I've never shared with anybody. There are things that I've written and I've deleted. And like for years I did this, like over a decade. So I think that you just forget, you forget that. And so but I think I wish I had done it sooner, because I think, I don't know, I can't, I wish, but I'm here now, so it's fine. But you just got to try. I think you got to try. I think the first thing I ever did was I wrote this little thing. I asked a couple actor friends I really admired to come over to my house. I fed them and they read the thing. They seemed very unimpressed. They kind of were, and I thought it was good, but then I didn't share again for years. So, but I did the thing, I got it over with. Then I did it again, so I think that you just got to do it and learn, move forward, and be open to hear what, other people, suggestions, all the things, because you can learn so much from people.
Yeah, I think someone told me this because I was raising money for Extraordinary Aliens and I was struggling. I was like, I just hate asking people for money. I don't come from money. I just don't know, I just feel so icky every time I send out an email. And she said, well, 2 of the most produced playwrights in Western canon were also playwright producers. She was like, William Shakespeare, Marlowe. And I was like, okay, thinking I'm not that level, but okay. But it was a great eye opener of if Shakespeare wasn't trying to make it happen for himself, no one was producing him. And also what I think I've had the privilege of is a great team of collaborators who also believe in your vision, who hold you accountable when you're you share the pages and then they go well, what are you doing next with the pages? That's the most exciting thing for a playwright is someone having the curiosity of what's next. So keep doing it, send out the emails, start out with your close friends and then build out that community. Yeah. Someone.
This is kind of leading off of your question, more of a process thing. I'd love to hear from each of you. Do you feel that in your experience, your work has needed many, many workshops, or has an idea that you had very in your seedling process or the seedling time that it was that was the right idea from the very beginning, didn't need to ripen through all these workshops? Or is there kind of you need 5 years, kind of flat out? I just would love to know the timing and kind of how, if you didn't have a deadline, was there a time when you thought, okay, it's finally ready, we're going to premiere it? Or was it simply you had this date at the theater, premiere, and it's showtime? You just were forced to make decisions.
Well, I, as a writer, probably the worst thing is that I can't write on commission. I actually refuse commissions because I can't write things that people tell me to write. It's just not the way my brain works. And I also don't let other people direct my plays, so I make very little money as a playwright, actually. Anyway, but so what I can make, what I do make, are things that I know only I can make in a way that only I can make them, which means that I take responsibility for the development process of a project. And so it's kind of a combination of both things for me in terms of what are the resources I can access right now and over the next few years, and how can I maximize those resources to push the play towards where it needs to be. And so generally speaking, I would say my projects take about 5 years to get to final production ready stage. But it's not that I'm working on a project solely that project for 5 years. It's like everybody balancing a bunch of but like balancing a million things. But 5 years is usually kind of what takes for me.
Okay. I think every play is different. Every play is different for sure. It's fun. I'll speak specifically about Chinese Republicans. What's funny about Chinese Republican, shout out to Jeena. Jeena was actually in several workshops with Chinese Republicans. Fantastic. Fantastic. The play, I actually needed it to go into production to learn about the show. And so the number of workshops that we had for it, which I think 4 or 5, that's a lot. That is a lot. They were fundamentally helpful to the play in a way that was not necessarily creatively inspired. I'll just say it straight. They were helpful to the play and getting the play exposure. They were helpful to me as an artist in terms of getting exposure to many different industries and sort of as this sort of stamp of approval of like, this is good. This is good. This is viable. Somebody should do this. It wasn't actually helpful to the further development of the story well, it probably was, but not in the way that I needed it to be, because I actually kind of needed fire to the flame a little bit of the idea, people are going to come see the show. It's going to be actually physicalized in front of them. This theater is spending money on this show. These actors are committed to this show. All these other sort of moving parts. I better actually have something to say and not have it just be silly party fun time. I love plays that are silly party fun time, but like the title of my show, it shouldn't just be silly party fun time. I actually have I have an opinion. Surprising even to myself, I have an opinion that I was like, I do feel comfortable sharing. And in fact, I think I should say it. And so, it's funny with that show, I think it needed that level of workshopping because I was very young as a writer. I was very new to this type of role, and I don't necessarily think theaters were going to take a chance in the show and me, even with like a veteran like Che attached, if there had not been that many workshops at institutions sort of vetting it. So, but I'll say for like my Lear, La Wang, which Jeena was also in a workshop in.
I love Alex.
She's fantastic.
It's a great place to play in.
That play benefited very much from the 3 workshops that we had. It fundamentally really, really did. So just every show is different. And I think a lot of it depends on the artist's relationship to the show, for sure.
I think for extraordinary, I think I did the math. It was that it took 2.5 years of writing from beginning to end, even though I had been living the real life immigration struggle through my husband for like 6 years beforehand. But I didn't write the first scene until I was at McDowell, because it was the first time that I had ever gone away. And where Io was, we overlapped for a little bit. That was like, you go away to be a writer. And I was like, there's this scene that I've been thinking about in my head for years. But then this play, it benefited from a lot of people supporting it from its like premise, because I think Jack, which is a great theater company in Brooklyn, supported it from the very first idea of it, where I was like, I have this idea, I just need space to workshop it with actors. And so they gave me space. And so I came in with like scenelets. I didn't even have a full play. And then like 2.5 years later, like we got a grant to do it. And then Jack was like, hey, we have the space in March. Do you think you'll have a draft ready for like a production premiere thingy. And I was like pregnant heavily at that time. And so I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. Yeah, once I'm done being pregnant, I'll totally have time. I was like, yeah, like I'll give birth in March. I'll have all this time to write. I'll have a year to write. And so by the time November came around last year, I was like, oh, holy shit. I have to raise $30K to pay the actors, and also I need a draft. And my husband, who's also directing the show, is like, yeah, you need a draft. So like, what have you been doing? What have we been doing? So that like is a different one where another play of mine I've been working on for like 5 years now, and I still haven't figured it out. And I am at the point where I'm like, I don't think I'll ever figure it out.
You will.
Maybe
in
6 years.
I believe
I
in
don't.
you.
I don't know. There's time. I'm like,
time,
I need a whisperer, a guardian angel to figure. I need an outline.
I got my phone. I'm ready to send it. Airdrop to everyone.
Jeena, what's your?
I don't know if I feel qualified to answer this, but
Yes, you are. You are here.
yeah. Weirdly, JESA came out very quickly. I wrote it actually in like less than 6 months, the first draft. But I've been very fortunate in that I've had 3 workshops, and each one was very beneficial because it helped me. It helped me really fine tune and get closer and closer to truth, which is what my goal was always with that play. But then I will say I agree with the sentiment that once it gets into production, it becomes just totally different. In my particular play, there's a lot of elements to it that you really do need a full production to be able to actually see if things work. And I changed the whole ending. And so because we were in production and there was lights and sound, and I realized, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, but the biggest thing I learned in production, and I couldn't learn it until production because, I had a team of all these people telling this story, and I realized I don't have to justify my character's existence in my world that I've created. Because I'm recognizing in myself, I tend to overwrite. And so for me, it's always about cutting things back or writing a lot and then knowing that I'm going to cut it all down. And then, so I think that's something that I recognized because I had all this stuff at the end, and I realized with my dramaturg and other people and all these other brilliant people around me were suggesting, I think, even when watching it, I was like, this section needs to be over. I am bored and I wrote this. And so I really just like slashed it down, and then I watched it and I gave it to my director, and I was like, go, do your thing. And they did. And I was like, of course, like, yeah, I didn't need all that other crap that I had in there. Was me just trying to justify to the audience why I have a character that, like why this character is the way that they are. And I'm like, I don't need to do that. Like I don't have to do that. And so and I would not have learned that unless I was in a production. And then I was told, Jonathan Spector, I guess, said, I don't know a play unless I've had 3 productions of it.
Oh, that must be nice.
And so, wouldn't that be nice? But like but I do think there's truth in that, which also makes me think then like we need more patrons of the arts.
Yes. And it's not like, that's why, like, going back to the beginning of the conversation, it's like why live theater is so important, because it's like once you get an audience, then it's when the play comes alive, and that's when you know what works, what doesn't work. Even if things have been working in rehearsals, it's when the live bodies are understanding whether or not you're in the pocket or not. And with that, this is our time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the panelists for coming and being in conversation with us.